Well, after a rough week 3, especially for that fine gentleman who attends the University of Florida who just featured, this next week is going to be just as rough for him, because our first overreaction is that head coach of the Florida Gators, Billy Napier, gets fired on Sunday after losing in Starkville to the Mississippi State Bulldogs on Saturday. Reportedly already, Florida's Board of Trustees called a meeting this past Sunday to discuss the future of Billy Napier. Well, after this Saturday, their decision will be made for them. The Gators entered Davis-Wade Stadium coming off of a home loss in which they were thoroughly dominated by A&M despite a 33-20 scoreline. Meanwhile, Mississippi State returns home after a thorough whipping from Toledo to the tune of 41-17. That's pretty embarrassing. Let's just be honest. But
that's brutal.
Brutal beyond belief. I did not think it would be that bad.
Do you see this? Do you see this right now?
No, I don't see it.
Make it happen.
Oh,
I don't care.
I knew Sora would like it. Yeah.
Make it happen. I can't.
And it's gonna happen because you can book it.
Look, if it doesn't, Ǩali, I'm booking a flight to Texas, and we're gonna have some choice words.
Oh, okay. I'm really counting on you now, Blake.
$26 million buyout.
Mississippi State's passing game, led by Baylor transfer quarterback Blake Shapen, has been very efficient. Their top 3 wide receivers all are averaging over 16 yards per reception. As former Oklahoma University offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby brought his pass-heavy scheme to Starkville as the head coach, and this offense poses a real threat to carve up this Gator defense that let Cam Ward dice them up and let a redshirt freshman making his first career start dice his way both in the air and on the ground through that defense. Blake Shapen should have his way with Kevin Coleman, a transfer from Louisville, as his leading receiver. The problem is this offense from Mississippi State is not balanced. Their running game averages just over 3 yards per carry, and they have also fumbled the ball 7 times this season. Shapen has been credited with 4 of them. So a little bit of weakness there, but their strength is the passing game, which time and time again this season has gotten to Florida's secondary. Florida does have a little bit of hope, though, in Eugene Wilson, if they can get him back at wide receiver, as he missed the game against Texas A&M. But Starkville has a sneaky good environment, and depending on how Florida's defense does, their offense might have to play keep up with Mississippi State. And I don't know what the plan is between Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway, but I think this is an upset in the brewing, as right now Florida is favored by 6 points. So if they lose, which I think they will, Napier's going to be gone the next day. It will be very soon. Not even 24 hours between the game ending and Napier being fired. That's how I have it going down in our first overreaction of the week. Sora, what do you think about that one real quick? He wants it.
I'm at, dear God, please. Just please. I don't know what else I could do. I don't know how many times I need to say please, please, please. I'm not Sabrina Carpenter out here, so please, God, I'm begging.
And you know what? I think there's a great chance of it happening. But on the flip side, our next overreaction comes from the team Florida just lost to this past week, and that is the fighting Texas Aggies from Texas A&M, and they have a quarterback controversy on their hands between redshirt freshman Marcel Reed and junior Connor Wigman. Marcel Reed, on 106 snaps this season, has completed 57% of his passes for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns, along with 126 yards to the tune of 6.3 yards per carry and a touchdown. Meanwhile, Connor Wigman, on 112 snaps, so only 6 more than Reed, has completed 52% of his passes for 225 yards, 5.1 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So significantly worse passing stats. Meanwhile, he has accumulated 77 yards on 8.6 yards per attempt with no touchdowns. So Wigman on more snaps, been worse through the air, but played a Notre Dame defense that is significantly better than Florida's, although that was played at home rather than in the swamp. How you look at it, or how I look at it, is that Marcel Reed is a better scheme fit for what Colin Klein wants to do. He brought Avery Johnson to Manhattan, Kansas to run his offense He left Avery Johnson in the dust, but he inherits Marcel Reed, who fits a similar mold. Meanwhile, Connor Wigman is probably the more talented passer in terms of ability, but he hasn't proved that this season. So which one wins out? I guess previously displayed talent versus scheme fit and the hot hand. I'm not sure, but you're really just trying to weigh how bad do you think Wigman really is, even though he played against a top defense, and how good do you think Marcel Reed really is, despite the fact that he just beat up on a pretty bad Florida team. The coaches, including Mike Elko down here in College Station, have made it pretty clear that when Wigman is back from injury, he is the guy. But if he's not healthy against Bowling Green, who almost upset Penn State last week, if Marcel Reed plays against Bowling Green and balls out, it's going to be a real controversy, and I know a lot of Aggies already want to see Marcel Reed start the rest of the way in 2024. And our last overreaction that we have for this week is that Alabama will beat Georgia by double digits in Tuscaloosa. Not this week, but next week. A bit premature for my game pick, yes. But looking at it right now, both teams have a bye week to get ready. But what we've seen so far from both of these teams leads me to believe, especially with the fact that it's in T-Town, that Alabama is going to smack Georgia. Between Georgia's struggles against Kentucky and Carson Beck looking nothing more than solid all season, they're going to have, I think, trouble moving the ball downfield. Meanwhile, Bama's offense hasn't skipped a beat with Kalen DeBoer as the new head man, and Jalen Milroe is a Heisman hopeful. Dante and I have talked about this and mentioned it. We were pretty wrong about Jalen Milroe. He is acclimated much better in this offense than we had initially thought. And a lot of that has to be, a lot of credit has to be given to true freshman wide receiver Ryan Williams, who has been special and been Jalen Milroe's top target. They also added a key transfer in Keon Sabb at safety after losing Caleb Downs to the portal, and he is already balled out for Alabama. Looking at it right now, I have no reason to believe that Alabama will not be in the SEC championship in Atlanta, and Georgia is going to find that out the hard way, that Alabama is going to pick up right where they left off last year. For everyone saying that they were finished after Nick Saban left, they will be proven wrong on September 28th in Tuscaloosa. Alabama is going to beat Georgia by double digits. Book it now.
Who was it that had Milroe as the Heisman offseason?
Only one of us. Only one of us. Sora was definitely the highest on Alabama. And I will say, I questioned it. I doubted. I thought it was a little bit silly. But now, no doubts. No nothing. Definitely not silly. Alabama's for real. And Georgia? There's questions about Georgia. Look at that beautiful shirt. Look at that.
I'll be putting it on the store here in a little bit.
Bro, cook that up so quick.
Hey, I'm a professional, as I like to think. But yeah, all these are great ones, man. I mean, by the way that, especially this one, by the way that Georgia looked last week.
They're vulnerable. I know that Kentucky does it to them every year, but you're telling me that Alabama can't go out there and do the same thing or better? You're telling me that if they do even half of what Kentucky did on defense, that their offense can't do tenfold what Kentucky's did?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. Come on.
It's nasty work.